What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our this will be video 3 of our 2D Toolpaths lesson 1. In the previous videos we came up with a rough process on how to machine the part, selected our tools, selected the machine in Mastercam, went over how to create or edit tools. We created some op-on geometry, and we faced the stock using a facing toolpath, left 50 thousandths, and we machined 2 edges to hold on to for our next operation. I'm going to go back over those 2 toolpaths a little bit more, show you some different things about them, different ways to do things, and we're also going to add a chamfer tool into the mix and go ahead and de-burr those edges. Show you some things with that, and with that let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're back in Mastercam now, and here's our where we're left off in the previous video. Got our facing toolpath, made that pretty simple, and then we got our contour where we're milling the 2 edges. What I'm gonna do first is I want to show you. You actually don't even need geometry for this facing toolpath. So if we come up to our properties in our machine group here, go to your stock setup, and we can do stock here. If you've got a like a model of the stock or anything, you can use any of these options here. And it'd be good idea for anybody who's got time to go ahead and play around with this stuff. You can make it a cylinder if you're doing round stock, rectangular. You can pick a solid. If you modeled your solid, like you've got a casting, sometimes you'll get a casting, or nowadays everything's being 3D printed for a lot of kit things, and a lot of times the customer will supply a 3D print of the part with stock and a 3D print of the part without stock, and that's very useful in a lot of cases for machining, because a lot of those parts don't have to be machined completely. They just need certain features on the machine. So now you've got the ability to just tell Mastercam this is my stock and go from there. So we want rectangular stock, and we're going to turn display on just for the time being so we can see what it is. So what we want to do is I don't have a 3-dimensional image of the stock, but what we can do is we can select corners, and this will give us, if I pick the right corners, this will give us a X and Y value. And we know our stock is 1 inch thick. We're going to put 1 inch thick here, and we're going to go ahead and accept that. And generally the way it draws it, when we look at this, is it draws it from the top of the feature. So if your work coordinate system is you're going to work from top down, when you put this 1 inch in, it'll draw from this point here. If it was if we wanted to, our stock was going to be up, which I put the wrong number in there. I'm going to put, let's say our 0 is at the bottom of the part. We'll do that. I think I got to put 1.0 here, and then you would put, yeah. So you'd put 1 inch. So now the top of your stock is here, and it's 1 inch thick. So that's the way that works. You can actually move it around and things like that. We're going to go back to where we were. So now you can see we've got stock. And it gives you a good idea of what boundary you're working in. Now for your facing toolpath, I can actually delete this chain out and then regenerate that toolpath. And you can see right here, geometry, job stock, boundary. So it'll automatically go through and look at that. So that's one neat trick. So I didn't actually realize that until, not very long ago. But that's only if you use the stock setup. I don't think it'll work with stock model. I think it only works with your job's setup stock boundary. So now like I said before, we milled the two edges. We faced the part, we milled the two edges. We're gonna go ahead and add a deburring toolpath in there. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click on contour and then bring our mouse down, unclick, and then we're just gonna do copy after. See, now we've got a duplicate toolpath. I did that by, first I'll select it by left clicking on it, and then right click, and then it'll bring up, once you release the right mouse button, it'll say move before or after, copy before or after. And we're just going to cancel that one. So what we need to do now is we don't want to, we're not milling the edges again. We want to deburr them. We don't have a chamfer tool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, before I showed you how to add tools in the tool manager, you can do the same exact thing from here. Just do select library tool, and that depends on, you know, what library you've got selected. Most of these are holders, but I've got, you know, a common tools library. I keep a lot of common tools in the machine. And then your default mill inch is what typically you're going to open. And so what we want to do is we want to filter it to where, I was already in there, but we're going to filter it to a chamfer mill. And we're going to pick, let's just pick a 1/4 inch chamfer mill. I think this is the right one. One of these I've got doesn't work. So if once you've done that, you can right click it and edit it. Okay, so that's fine. And I'm not worried about feeds and speeds. I'm just doing this to show what's going on. So what we're going to do, and see, this is all, we're just using a contour. We're not doing de-burr or anything like that. I'm just using a simple contour. And if you go over the contour type, you've got 2D chamfer, ramp, remachining, oscillate. 2D chamfer, and ramp are, I use those things all the time. When you select 2D chamfer, what it's going to ask is going to ask two different things. How wide do we want a chamfer, and do we want to, how far do we want to offset the bottom of the tool or the corner? Corner works if you have a hard time defining what size of a tip you got on your tool. Corner works good, but I'll typically take an eye loop or something and measure the tip of the tool, and just put, you can edit that here in when you edit your tool tip diameter. So you want to make sure that's typically pretty close, because that'll change the whole geometry of the tool. It'll change. So if it was bigger, it changes the length from, if you look at my mouse pointer, changes the length from the tip of the tool to this edge here. So that's going to change how Mastercam calculates where it's cutting at. And it also changes the tip diameter, and it'll affect, the other geometry there. I'm just going to leave that at 20 right now. Generally, most of the time, you could probably put 25. Typically, manufacturers will put like a 10% of the diameter will be the point for solid carbide ones. I'm not going to say that's true for, inserted chamfer tools. Inserted chamfer tools are a little more difficult to go by unless the manufacturer actually gives you a diameter to go off of. But with all that, what we're going to do is we're just going to put like a 25,000th chamfer on there, and we'll go off this top offset, tell it to offset it 50 thousandths. Don't need wear. Well, we won't go just to computer and let Mastercam do all the compensation. I don't typically use wear on a chamfer tool. I used to, I don't anymore. I found it easier to use tool length compensation. If you try to stick to make sure you're using the same tool and stick to the same or similar values with this stuff, you'll get a pretty consistent chamfer, and then you can adjust that by using the tool length. Lead in and out, we can leave those, they default to a percentage of the previous tool's diameters and stuff. So I'm gonna set this to 0 just to show you something here a little bit later on. Let's see, why has it got minus? Yeah, we don't want to go, we're chamfering this edge, so I'm going to put that at 0. So everything's 0. Let's let it generate, and we'll look at our toolpath. So if we backplot it, step through, okay, it looks like it's putting the chamfer on. Or we think it is anyway. That's why I wanted to create this stock at the beginning of the toolpath. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create a stock model so we can see what's going on. When you click stock model, and that was this one right here, it's going to bring up this first menu. It'll be this menu or this menu, and there's a difference between the two. Or you can't have one without the other, but you can fill out this page and not have to put anything there, and I'll show you that first. So it's going to ask you for a lot of the similar information that we did in our stock setup, and it adds a couple things. Don't generally worry about stock plane unless I'm wanting to move the model around, so we're not going to be doing anything that crazy this time around. So same deal, you can pick a stock model, you can go to rectangular, and it highlights the same selection tool that you have in your stock setup. And what we can do is we can just click stock setup, and it'll autofill all this stuff in. Now if we accept that and hit OK, all right, we've got a STL generated that looks identical to our stock setup. What we want to use this for is to see what we've machined and how we've machined it. So we're going to go back in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the top up here just so I know this is before we machined. And then now we're going to hit stock model again. Notice it's automatically naming them now. So used to you have to name each stock model, but Mastercam does it automatically, and you can change that name if you want to, but I generally don't anymore. Unless I have to go back and I see where I need to add something intermediate in between ones I've already created, I'll do like 2-1 or something like that. All right, so what we're going to do, we don't no longer want stock setup. We're going to base it off the previous stock model, and that's what this is. And we're going to change our color so we can see the effects of what we've done, and you'll see that clearly, a little bit more clearly in a minute. So what we're going to do is it'll actually machine the features into these into the stock of what we want. So if we just wanted the facing toolpath, you would just select it and you hit OK, and see it generates only the orange looking color that I've selected on the feature that it cut. That way you can see, you know, what tool's doing what. And you could do one of these for every toolpath, and I would advise doing that so you get familiar with, you know, it actually helps you get better at doing some things on Mastercam. So it may not be a bad idea. So we'll go ahead and do that. Just go around just to prove my point. All right, so we've got it faced. Now we're going to do Number 4, and we're going to change our color. Let's change it to this gold looking color. Okay. And one thing I did not do was I did not define this as using that stock. So now we've got to regenerate it. Okay. Now it shows the face toolpath, and it shows us where we've milled the 2 edges. Now let's do our chamfer. I'm going to add another stock model. Let's make sure we reference it to stock model, the previous stock model, which is stock model 3. Let's select something bright so we know we can see that. Then we're going to select our chamfer. We don't see a chamfer. Why don't we see? This is the point I was wanting to make about, you know, the good idea to do things like this until you get real familiar. Otherwise, you're going back and forth to the machine. Why didn't it cut this feature? You can see it all in Mastercam before going to the machine in the first place. So we've got a problem with this toolpath, and we're looking. Okay, we're cutting that edge. If we look, let's go back and let's take a look at our chain. All right, we're cutting that edge and that edge. Okay, so look at our depths. We don't have any stock or anything like that. Well, you might say, well, that's not a big enough chamfer. Well, let's go back and look at our, I don't know why I did that. Let's go back and look at first. You know, we did this, I've done this a couple of days ago, or started this a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, and I don't remember exactly what we were doing. Well, my comment says we leave 50 thousandths of stock, but that don't tell me how deep we went. So we look at our linking, we actually took 106 off, but we left 50 on the face. So we need to do something similar to that with the chamfer tool. Otherwise, it's not going to be cutting the same edge as what we were before. But we also got to remember we're cutting in our contour. Remember, I've got minus 30 stock here. So we can actually look at our stock model and see, well, we're cutting this edge, but the top of our stock is actually below the surface of our zero now. And we're also 30 thousandths in. So what we want to do, first thing, we're going to tell it we went minus 0.106. It's like our face mill. And that's not right, but I want to verify that before we go on. Yeah, minus 106, but we also left 50 thousandths on the face. So what we want to do is we're going to do the same thing. Leave 50 thousandths. And then we're going to go minus 30 on the walls. Minus 0.03. All right, that's at the point where the actual corner is on the part now. Now when we regenerate our stock, maybe it won't make a liar out of me. Look, we got a chamfer. All right, everybody, I'm going to end this video right here. I appreciate everybody watching and following along. I appreciate all the views I've gotten in the past couple weeks. Seems like everybody's liked some of the machining videos I put up. I wished a lot of those people would subscribe. So please do so. Like the videos, subscribe. It'll help the channel out in the future. And with that, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.